So, last week we did a video talking about how Square Enix were urgently recruiting for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and now, thanks to a rather odd reveal on the Mobius Final Fantasy 2nd Anniversary stream, we now know exactly why it's so urgent. They've changed the entire plan for development of the game. I wish I were making this up, and some of you might be getting flashbacks to Final Fantasy Versus 13 and Final Fantasy 15 at this point, and I wouldn't blame you. I mean, it might seem like a slight exaggeration given the time frames involved, but it's actually not too dissimilar. It's just kind of the opposite way around. Nomura has decided to take more control to ensure the final product meets with his expectations. Now, to give some context around this, we need to go back to 2014, the year before the Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced. Yoshinori Kitase removed himself from Final Fantasy 15 to work on quote-unquote another project, and both Shinji Hashimoto and Hiroshi Matsuyama, the CEO of CyberConnect 2, joked that if the Final Fantasy VII G-Bike mobile game was a success, CyberConnect 2 would work on the Final Fantasy VII Remake. A year later, after the announcement of the remake, we learned that CyberConnect 2, who aside from working on Final Fantasy VII G-Bike had also created a wave of positively received Naruto games, would indeed be working on the development of the Final Fantasy VII Remake as an external partner. And as an aside, it's assumed that this news explains why G-Bike was cancelled on the 15th of December 2015. Now, you'd like to think that when announcing a partnership of this nature, it would be super positive, but it was actually rather not. In an interview that Square Enix conducted with Famitsu, they said that while CyberConnect 2 was quite different from their own, they would be working very closely with them to ensure they matched the company's style and quality for this project. And they even openly said in the interview that Nomura was annoyed about the trailer they had produced, something which with hindsight was rather foreshadowing, as now, 2 years later, the relationship has seemingly come to an end, because Square Enix has made the decision to move all development on the Final Fantasy VII Remake in-house. It's now going to be developed internally. And that brings me back to the similarity between the Versus 13 and 15 situation, because if you remember, it was Nomura and the Kingdom Hearts team who were originally working on the game. However, it ended up being shifted over to Tabata's division in order to get the game released, although I don't think that was necessarily down to a lack of quality, more just that resources were being spread too thin within the company. Anyway, the revelations about this development shift came from Naoki Hamaguchi, who you might remember from the Business Division 1 recruitment page that appeared a few days ago. He is currently the project lead on Mobius Final Fantasy, and as such, he was appearing on the Mobius Final Fantasy 2nd Anniversary stream alongside prominent Final Fantasy creators such as Yoshinori Kitase and Mojima Toriyama, who also work on Mobius. And it was during this stream that Hamaguchi commented on the recent recruitment post they put up. He started by talking about the various roles they were looking for, but then went on to speak further about why the roles are required and how he is now in charge of development on the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, this news in itself wasn't too shocking, as we knew this from the recruitment page, although I will admit that when I read the job listings post originally, I had assumed that Hamaguchi had always been in charge of overseeing development and that this wasn't a new thing. Anyway, it's actually what he said next that was rather eye-opening as to why the recruitment post was necessary and why it's so urgent. He said, and I quote, "As for the whole story, it's a sensitive topic, but until now, development was moving forward with external cooperation, but the company has decided to shift to an internal setup, including mass production and quality, because we want to control everything, including quality, on a stable schedule. Also, I won't be leaving Mobius Final Fantasy." End quote. Now, this leaves me with a couple of questions. Firstly, why was this subtly revealed on the Mobius Final Fantasy 2nd Anniversary livestream? Secondly, why did it take them 2 years to decide that CyberConnect 2 weren't producing something that was up to the quality that they'd expected, even with their initial reservations and subsequent oversight? And thirdly, haven't we already learned that having people split their time really isn't indicative to getting results in a timely manner? I mean, it does somewhat concern me that Hamaguchi is going to be both acting as the development lead on the Final Fantasy VII Remake and as the project lead on Mobius Final Fantasy. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually think it's great that Square Enix has taken this decision on a whole, as it shows how seriously they are taking this project. They value the quality so much that they were willing to part ways with their main external partner who had been working on it for around 2 years. but it does now make any optimism around the release date seem rather misplaced. This news actually goes hand in hand with what Yusuke Matsuda, the CEO of Square Enix, also said this past week, as he offered clarification around that upcoming releases slide that appeared in the investors report earlier this year. He said that games marked in the fiscal year 2018 portion that don't have a release date next to them are planned to release within the next 3 years or so. This could feasibly mean that the first part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake doesn't appear until 2020 or even 2021, especially if Kingdom Hearts 3 also continues its reported development struggles alongside it. Now, I'm assuming that despite moving all development to internal resources, they will still be able to reuse any assets or work that's already been conducted by CyberConnect 2 thus far, but I can't help but feel that this news essentially means the project has now, in a way, been reset. The past 2 years therefore serve as a ton of preparatory work for what's to come, but they have a long road ahead of them to try and turn this into something that's befitting of the original game's reputation, and it sounds like they have a ton of ambition to do so. I'd like to think it's not the case, but perhaps they've bitten off more than they can chew with choosing to remake Final Fantasy VII. The pressure to deliver is like nothing they can ever have witnessed before, and it really adds a lot of weight to what Nomura said on that recruitment page, that they are really desperate to find talent within Japan who can help them with the development on this project, but the depth of talent just isn't there. I think as fans, we all really hope that Square Enix can turn this ship around and point it in the right direction, but it sounds like they really have their work cut out for them. Hopefully the rest of the company can really rally behind them to help them complete this task, but there's also the risk that other projects may get derailed as a result. As we saw throughout Final Fantasy XV's entire development, employees shift projects depending on objectives within the business. It's why Final Fantasy Type 0 took so long to develop. We also saw that upon Tabata's appointment as director on Final Fantasy XV, that creators from all across the company were drafted in to help out. But while it would be easy, I don't want to be negative about this, and I'd encourage you all to look at the positives around this news. Yes, there is clear disappointment as it means that the game will likely take longer to produce, and there are some echoes of the Versus 13 to 15 shift, but if the end product is good enough, I am happy to wait. It's frustrating, sure, but we'll just have to trust that this decision, even if it sounds quite painful, is the right one, and that under the more watchful eye of Square Enix's own internal teams, the quality should be even higher. And if Nomura is at E3 this year, it would be the perfect time for him to give much more detail on this move, and even if he isn't, I'm expecting there to be some kind of statement or interview to be conducted with Famitsu, which will offer a much more substantial explanation, while giving an update on where they're at with the project and how they plan to meet expectations. Alright, so that's everything I've got to say on this. How do you guys feel about the fact that the Final Fantasy VII Remake has now shifted to being developed internally? Let us know in the comments below, and of course if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. Also, we're doing a massive giveaway to celebrate our 25,000 subscribers mark. We're giving away a Noctis Playarts Kai and Abbey Road poster and some Type 0 cards. If you want to find out how you can get in the draw for a chance to win, be sure to check out our celebration video. If you'd also like to support our channel and increase your chance in the giveaway, please head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/FFunion. These awesome folks have already done so why not join them? Alright, thanks for watching guys. This is Daryl signing out. We will see you next time.